Hi, I think it's just two or three of us on here right now. Welcome to chapter 6 of Alice in Wonderland. At the end of this stream, we will be halfway done with the book, which is crazy. It feels like we've been reading this book for so little time. Yet it feels like it's been a long time since we've been at school. So it's a weird week. Weird week, isn't it? Switch back to English in the comments. Come on, this is the English book club. I'm your English teacher. I mean, one of your English teachers. So we will wait for a minute. Sorry for the confusion in the chat. The girls are having fun speaking literally any other language. So we are reading chapter 6 today, which is titled Pig and Pepper. Now, obviously, I had to read ahead in the book in order to prepare the questions for you guys. And when I read this chapter, the first half of it really confused me because I don't think any adaptation of Alice in Wonderland that I've ever seen has included this section of the chapter for obvious reasons. So as we're reading this chapter, you might be as shocked as I was about what it contains. I don't think we need to ask why it's not included in all the movies of Alice in Wonderland. But in case you're confused, let's just get started and read chapter 6 of Alice in Wonderland, titled Pig and Pepper. Oh, and to recap, at the very end of the last chapter, she now has control over her size. She has gotten herself down to 9 inches high. Chapter 6. For a minute or two, she stood looking at the house and wondering what to do next, when suddenly a footman in livery came running out of the wood. She considered him to be a footman because he was in livery. Otherwise, judging by his face only, she would have called him a fish, and rapped loudly at the door with his knuckles. It was opened by another footman in livery, with a round face and large eyes like a frog, and both footmen, Alice noticed, had powdered hair that curled all over their heads. She felt very curious to know what it was all about, and crept a little way out of the wood to listen. The fish footman began by producing from under his arm a great letter, nearly as large as himself, and this he handed over to the other, saying in a solemn tone, "For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet." The frog footman repeated in the same solemn tone, only changing the order of the words a little. "From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet." Then they both bowed low, and their curls got entangled together. Alice laughed so much at this that she had to run back into the wood for fear of their hearing her. And when she next peeped out, the fish footman was gone, and the other was sitting on the ground near the door, staring stupidly up into the sky. Alice went timidly up to the door and knocked. "There's no sort of use in knocking," said the footman, "and that for 2 reasons. First, because I'm on the same side of the door as you are. Secondly, because they're making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you. And certainly, there was a most extraordinary noise going on within, a constant howling and sneezing, and every now and then a great crash, as if a dish or kettle had been broken to pieces." "Please then," said Alice, "how am I to get in?" "There might be some sense in your knocking," the footman went on, without attending to her, "if we had the door between us. For instance, if you were inside, you might knock, and I could let you out, you know." He was looking up into the sky all the time he was speaking, and this Alice thought decidedly uncivil. "But perhaps he can't help it," she said to herself. "His eyes are so very nearly at the top of his head. But at any rate, he might answer questions. How am I to get in?" she repeated aloud. "I shall sit here," the footman remarked, "till tomorrow." At this moment, the door of the house opened, and a large plate came skimming out, straight at the footman's head. It just grazed his nose, and broke to pieces against one of the trees behind him. "Or next day, maybe," the footman continued in the same tone, exactly as if nothing had happened. "How am I to get in?" asked Alice again in a louder tone. "Are you to get in at all? That's the first question, you know." It was, no doubt, only Alice did not like to be told so. It's really dreadful, she muttered to herself, the way all the creatures argue. It's enough to drive one crazy. The footman seemed to think this a good opportunity of repeating his remark with variations. I shall sit here, he said, on and off for days and days. But what am I to do? Said Alice. Anything you like, said the footman, and began whistling. Oh, there's no use in talking to him, said Alice desperately. He's perfectly idiotic. And she opened the door and went in. The door led right into a large kitchen, which was full of smoke from one end to the other. The Duchess was sitting on a three-legged stool in the middle, nursing a baby. The cook was leaning over the fire, stirring a large cauldron which seemed to be full of soup. There's certainly too much pepper in that soup, Alice said to herself, as well as she could for sneezing. There was certainly too much of it in the air. Even the Duchess sneezed occasionally, and as for the baby, it was sneezing and howling alternately without a moment's pause. The only creatures in the kitchen that did not sneeze were the cook and the large cat, which was sitting on the hearth and grinning from ear to ear. Please, would you tell me, said Alice a little timidly, for she was not quite sure whether it was good manners for her to speak first. Why your cat grins like that? It's a Cheshire cat, said the Duchess, and that's why. Pig! She said the last word with such sudden violence that Alice quite jumped, but she saw in another moment that it was addressed to the baby and not to her. So she took courage and went on again. I didn't know that Cheshire cats always grinned. In fact, I didn't know that cats could grin. They all can, said the Duchess, and most of them do. I don't know of any that do, Alice said very politely, feeling quite pleased to have got into a conversation. You don't know much, said the Duchess, and that's a fact. Alice did not at all like the tone of this remark, and thought it would be as well to introduce some other subject of conversation. While she was trying to fix on one, the cook took the cauldron of soup off the fire and at once set to work, throwing everything within her reach at the Duchess and the baby. The fire irons came first, then followed a shower of saucepans, plates, and dishes. The Duchess took no notice of them, even when they hit her, and the baby was howling so much already that it was quite impossible to say whether the blows hurt it or not. Oh, please mind what you're doing, cried Alice, jumping up and down in an agony of terror. Oh, there goes his precious nose, as an unusually large saucepan flew close by it and very nearly carried it off. If everybody minded their own business, said the Duchess in a hoarse growl, the world would go round a deal faster than it does. Which would not be an advantage, said Alice, who felt very glad to get an opportunity of showing off a little of her knowledge. Just think what work it would make with the day and night. You see, the earth takes 24 hours to turn round on its axis. Talking of axes, said the Duchess, chop off her head. Alice glanced rather anxiously at the cook to see if she meant to take the hint. But the cook was busily stirring the soup and seemed not to be listening, so she went on again. 24 hours, I think. Or is it 12? Oh, don't bother me, said the Duchess. I never could abide figures. And with that, she began nursing her child again, singing a sort of lullaby to it as she did so, and giving it a violent shake at the end of every line. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. The chorus, in which the cook and the baby joined. Wow, wow, wow. While the Duchess sang the second verse of the song, she kept tossing the baby violently up and down, and the poor little thing howled so that Alice could hardly hear the words. I speak severely to my boy. I beat him when he sneezes, for he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases. Wow, wow, wow. Here, you may nurse it a bit if you like, said the Duchess to Alice, flinging the baby at her as she spoke. I must go and get ready to play croquet with the queen. And she hurried out of the room. The cook threw a frying pan after her as she went, but it just missed her. Alice caught the baby with some difficulty, and it was a queer-shaped little creature, and held out its arms and legs in all directions. Just like a starfish, thought Alice. The poor little thing was snorting like a steam engine when she caught it, and kept doubling itself up and straightening itself out again, so that altogether, for the first minute or two, it was as much as she could do to hold it. As soon as she had made out the proper way of nursing it, which was to twist it up into a sort of knot, and then keep tight hold of its right ear and left foot, so as to prevent it undoing itself, she carried it out into the open air. If I don't take this child away with me, thought Alice, they're sure to kill it in a day or two. Wouldn't it be murder to leave it behind? She said the last words out loud, and the little thing grunted in reply. It had left off sneezing by this time. Don't grunt, said Alice. That's not at all the proper way of expressing yourself. The baby grunted again, and Alice looked very anxiously into its face to see what was the matter with it. There could be no doubt that it had a very turn-up nose, much more like a snout than a real nose. Also, its eyes were getting extremely small for a baby. Altogether, Alice did not like the look of the thing at all. But perhaps it was only sobbing, she thought, and looked into its eyes again to see if there were any tears. No, there were no tears. If you're going to turn into a pig, my dear, said Alice seriously, I'll have nothing more to do with you. Mind now. The poor little thing sobbed again, or grunted, it was impossible to say which, and they went on for some while in silence. Alice was just beginning to think to herself, now, what am I to do with this creature when I get it home, when it grunted again so violently that she looked down into its face in some alarm. This time there could be no mistake about it. It was neither more nor less than a pig, and she felt that it would be quite absurd for her to carry it any further. So she set the little creature down and felt quite relieved to see it trot away quietly into the wood. If it had grown up, she said to herself, it would have made a dreadfully ugly child, but it makes a rather handsome pig, I think. And she began thinking over other children she knew who might do very well as pigs, and was just saying to herself, if one only knew the right way to change them, when she was a little startled by seeing the Cheshire Cat sitting on a bough of tree a few yards off. The cat only grinned when it saw Alice. It looked good-naturedly, she thought. Still, it had very long claws and a great many teeth, so she felt that it ought to be treated with respect. Cheshire Puss, she began rather timidly, as she did not at all know whether it would like the name. However, it only grinned a little wider. Come, it's pleased so far, thought Alice, and she went on. Would you please tell me, please, which way I ought to walk from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to get to, said the cat. I don't much care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you walk, said the cat. So long as I get somewhere, Alice added as an explanation. Oh, you're sure to do that, said the cat, if you only walk long enough. Alice felt that this could not be denied, so she tried another question. What sort of people live about here? In that direction, the cat said, waving its right paw round, lives a hatter. And in that direction, waving the other paw, lives a March hare. Visit either you like, they're both mad. But I don't want to go about among mad people, Alice remarked. Oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad. How do you know I'm mad, said Alice. You must be, said the cat, or you wouldn't have come here. Alice didn't think that proved it at all. However, she went on. And how do you know that you're mad? To begin with, said the cat, a dog's not mad. You grant that? I suppose so, said Alice. Well then, the cat went on, You see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now, I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore, I'm mad. I call it purring, not growling, said Alice. Call it what you like, said the cat. Do you play croquet with the queen today? I should like it very much, said Alice, but I haven't been invited yet. You'll see me there, said the cat, and vanished. Alice was not much surprised at this. She was getting so well used to queer things happening. While she was still looking at the place where it had been, it suddenly appeared again. By the by, what became of the baby? Said the cat. I'd nearly forgotten to ask. It turned into a pig, Alice answered very quietly, just as if the cat had come back in a natural way. I thought it would, said the cat, and vanished again. Alice waited a little, half expecting to see it again, but it did not appear, and after a minute or two she walked on in the direction in which the March Hare was said to live. I've seen hatters before, she said to herself. The March Hare will be much most interesting, and perhaps as this is May, it won't be raving mad, at least not so mad as it was in March. As she said this, she looked up, and there was the cat again, sitting on a branch of a tree. Did you say pig or fig? Said the cat. I said pig, replied Alice, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddy. All right, said the cat, and this time it vanished quite slowly, beginning with the end of the tail and ending with the grin, which remained some time after the rest of it had gone. Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, thought Alice, but a grin without a cat? It's the most curious thing I ever saw in my life. She had not gone much farther before she came in sight of the house of the March Hare. She thought it must be the right house, because the chimneys were shaped like ears, and the roof was thatched with fur. It was so large a house that she did not like to go nearer till she had nibbled some more of the left-hand bit of mushroom, and raised herself to about 2 feet high. Even then she walked up toward it rather timidly, saying to herself, Suppose it should be raving mad after all. I almost wish I'd gone to see the Hatter instead. And that's the end of chapter 6 and the halfway point of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The next chapter is, I think, everybody's favorite, A Mad Tea Party. But let's go ahead and start the discussion. Today's questions include an ace paragraph. Sorry, I'm all over the place right now. So, what do you guys think of chapter 6? And what do you think of the first half of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland? What do you think? Feel free to put it in the chat. I'm going to be loading up the questions while you do that. I hope we can talk about this in English. I do speak Spanish, but I would prefer English for this book. So I hope everyone's got everything they need out to get started. The first question of the day is, what is odd about the Duchess, Cook, and Baby? So, what was weird about that section? What was weird about the section with the Duchess, the Cook, and the Baby? Anyone want to share what they thought? What was weird about it? What was happening in that section? Julia, as always, has the first answer. Julia says, the Duchess, Cook, and Baby are odd because they own a Cheshire cat, and the cook was throwing pans and spoons at the Duchess and Baby. The Duchess shakes her baby violently while she sings a lullaby, and the Duchess throws her baby at Alice. And then what was weird about the baby? When she finally starts holding the baby and talking to it, what happens to the baby? This is my favorite part of our videos, as always. The part where I am Dora the Explorer, and I just wait for you guys to answer. Julia says it turns into a pig. And yeah, Becca says there's a lot of random and unexpected events. This chapter is like the ultimate, like, well, I didn't expect the baby to turn into a pig. I didn't expect the Duchess to throw her child at a strange girl who just walked into her house. There's also the weird footmen that look like a fish and a frog. One of them doesn't actually open the door for her, although she does knock on the door, seeing that the footman is just sitting outside. She could have walked up to him and asked, like, hey, can I go in? But she didn't, because she's a little weird too. The cook, I would say, was the weirder one of the two if I had to pick between the Duchess and the cook. The cook was the one who was like making soup and put too much pepper and knew the baby was going to keep sneezing and then get beaten by the Duchess. But she keeps putting the pepper in and then throwing things. I feel like the cook's to blame for everything weird that happened in that house, although the Duchess clearly is not fit to mother this pig baby. Yeah, this is a weird section. So I hope you guys, without me explaining it too much, can guess why this part of the book is not usually included in any of the movie versions of it, like any of the movies. The next question I've included is, what makes the Cheshire Cat different from all of the other creatures that Alice has met so far in Wonderland? What was different about the cat? What makes him stand out? Julia was at the ready, I guess. Julia says the Cheshire Cat was not getting mad at her, and he followed her instead of her following him, and he initiated the conversation. Yeah, to be honest, the Cheshire Cat is the nicest person, nicest creature that she's met in Wonderland. He does disappear. That makes him a little odd, right? But he actually holds a normal conversation with her and doesn't belittle her, doesn't get mad at her or offended. The cat seems to get Alice. Whoever Authentic is, whom I don't know your name and I've not been able to figure it out in any of these streams, says Disney should include that part in the movie. I hope you can understand why they didn't. PG-13 did not exist as a rating. It was either PG, which was taken more seriously, and then there was the restricted audiences, of course. But they did not want to risk their ratings, so I don't think they wanted to do that. I cannot read the other comment that you made, Julia. Anyone else want to add anything about the Cheshire Cat? I would say that he is one of the nicest characters that she meets in all of Wonderland. And I mean, the caterpillar does help her, but the Cheshire Cat makes her feel like she can belong there too. Like she actually finds her way because of him. So in terms of kindness, Cat comes first, then the caterpillar, and then honestly, nobody else has been nice to her. They've all been pretty awful. Maybe the pig baby goes third place right now. We'll figure out who you are eventually, Authentic. So the next question is our ace paragraph. Our ace paragraph question. I said the Cheshire Cat is one of the most popular characters in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Based on the first interaction between Alice and the cat, why do you think that is? And for your ace paragraph, you should quote the cat's best piece of dialogue. So, and no, Julia, I do not believe it's David. So, for the reason why the cat is the most popular characters, you might not agree with my reasoning. I would say that the reason why the cat is the most popular character in Alice in Wonderland is because he kind of serves as a gateway, a barrier, or I don't know, a bridge. The cat serves as a bridge between Alice and Wonderland in an emotional sense. And no, you do not have to write the whole ace paragraph. So me writing it right now is just kind of to help you guys feel like you're on track and so that you don't forget how to write ace paragraphs. So I would say that maybe it has to do with the fact that Alice has a cat at home, but the Cheshire Cat kind of serves as a bridge between Alice and Wonderland and helps her find her way. It's the halfway point of the book, and she finally has found someone who helps her fit in and makes her feel like she fits in. So that's what I'm going to put, is the cat kind of serves as a bridge and a connection between Alice in Wonderland. So I have that statement of the cat serves as a bridge between Alice and Wonderland because he understands her and helps her find her way. I would say that you all probably can guess what I'm going to put as his most famous piece of dialogue. But if you guys wanted to guess in the chat, what would you say is his most famous line? He does say it in this chapter. What did he say that's super famous? Anyone want to guess? Anyone want to guess his famous line, his most famous line? Yeah, we're all, so she says, aren't we all mad? So the specific line is, we're all mad here, I believe. Let me double, triple, quadruple check. But yeah, he says, we are all mad here. And so that was on page 94 for me. So I'm actually going to make sure I include my citation. So I now need to include an explanation as to why, and I will of course show you guys what I end up writing at the end of this. But Julia says, oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad. So okay, sorry, the writing part is always the slowest part. So I'm going to put down for my explanation section, because I need to explain now how this shows that he's the most popular characters, or one of the most popular characters, the one that people quote the most, and people put his Cheshire Cat smile, and when we look at the moon, we sometimes call it a Cheshire Cat smile. So I'm going to put down that audiences feel better connected to Wonderland because of the cat. We experience the land through Alice's eyes. So when she finds her way, we find our way. All right. And with that, I have finished the ace paragraph. So let me read the whole thing to you. I, of course, will take a picture of it and post it on Google Classroom. But I have written, the cat serves as a bridge between Alice in Wonderland because he understands her and helps her find her way. Famously, the cat tells Alice, we're all mad here. Audiences feel better connected to Wonderland because of the cat. We experience the land through Alice's eyes. So when she finds her way, we find our way, and that is thanks to the Cheshire Cat. So all of his lines and dialogue with her is him helping Alice find her way. Since we are seeing Wonderland kind of through Alice's experiences with it, we can feel better connected to the magic that is Wonderland because the cat creates that connection. So that is my opinion. I intentionally wrote this question as a why do you think? So if you don't agree with my reasoning, you are absolutely welcome to put some other reason that the cat is so popular. But that is just one example. I will take a picture of my response and put it on Google Classroom shortly. There's 6 people on here, but I just want to let you guys know that if you go onto Google Classroom or my YouTube account, you will now see multiple videos that I've created and posted today that explain how to do the packet work. I got permission to help you guys with the packets. So I'm going to make one video for each day. I know I'm a little bit behind. I didn't get approval to do this until 2 days later. So I will try to catch up, and then I'm going to start posting in the morning a video explaining how to do that day's packet work only for English. I'm not touching the art stuff. It's not my expertise. I saw that the 8th graders are supposed to do drawing. I'm not a good artist. I don't know if you guys have seen my drawing. It's not great. And then I'm not a math teacher, and I would be afraid to show you the wrong way of doing things. So my videos are just going to help you guys with the English sections, but you need to go on to either Google Classroom or YouTube to find them. Right now, I have 2 videos out for 7th grade and 1 for 8th. The reason why is I started the slideshow for the 7th grade first, since it seemed a little bit easier to me. So now I've still got to finish the 8th grade slideshow and make the video and post it. I'm just going to focus on the first 2 days today, and I'll focus on day 3 and 4 tomorrow, and then I'll be caught up. It will include how to write a thesis statement, how to organize your essays. I will try to include everything I can in those videos. And if you want to share what you drew for the hand, Becca, for the drawing section, you should share it. You should share it with Google Classroom, send it to your teachers. We would be happy to see your work because we miss you guys very much. Why can't I end the stream? You're saying don't end the stream. Why not? Is it because you're enjoying speaking another language? You know that you can chat in other places, or is it because you guys miss me so much? It's because you miss me. I know. You drama kids who are commenting and hogging my streaming time. I posted choreography videos. I hope you've been practicing. Okay? You can find those on Google Classroom, on the Drama Club Google Classroom. But I need to go because I need to go make the 8th grade one. All right? Wow, wait, yes, maybe, no, because I said so. I gotta go, guys. But how can you make a chat on Google Classroom drama? You mean like a forum thing, Julia? Like a forum? Because I could do that where you guys have like a comment string all on one question or one post. You guys can chat that way. Yeah, I'll set one up for you, the socialization forum. All right, but I gotta go. If you signed in just now, someone just signed in, I posted videos on how to do the packet work. So you should go look on Google Classroom or on YouTube to do that. Authentic. That is a wonderful fun fact. And with that, I think I need to end the stream. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? I'm losing track of time. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Bye.